Hello everyone, this is Crossxfighter, aka Phoenix Wright. Well actually my name is Phoenix Cross from now on. I'm just a contrasty version of Phoenix Wright. So now you know. You know, the colors, the vivid. It's all vivid and blue and... never mind that. Anyway, here's a video clip for my next Let's Play. And it's actually a game that I wanted to do a Let's Play for a long time. Please remain seated while the clip is in motion. Enjoy. Here it is, folks. This is Tekken 6. I wanted to create a Let's Play of this game for a long time, and it's pretty much fun to play. Tekken 6 is my first Xbox 360 game, and I got it on Christmas for $20. Yep, it's completely worth it. Not only was Tekken 6 my first Xbox 360 game, but that was actually the time when I first gotten an Xbox 360. Yep, it's been a while since I played this game, and now I can tell you about the history of Tekken, of how I experienced the gameplay. My first Tekken game I've played was the arcade version of Tekken 2, and that was back when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. It was a fun fighting game, and I remember I was playing with this character named Michelle, and I was rapidly tapping buttons just to fight the other characters, and I kept winning until I ran into another character that's pretty hard and I couldn't even beat him. Man, it's been so long since I played Tekken 2. I was visiting my relatives and they have the console version of Tekken 2. And I played the heck out of that game. It was so much fun. Tekken 2 was apparently the game that got me into the Tekken franchise. I wanted to play all the Tekken games in general. Like Tekken 3, the very first Tekken, the Tekken Tag Tournament series. Well, I played those before, but those are really fun games. And if you want to get into the Tekken franchise, then you can start with Tekken 6 or Tekken Tag Tournament. I will tell you more about my experience with Tekken during this Let's Play, but for now, let's enter Tekken 6. While I was getting Tekken 6 for the 360, I bought myself a player's guidebook for Tekken 6. Why? Because back then, I was so interested with the character roster that they have in this game, and I wanted to draw them. I'm not kidding. The characters that they have, plus the returning characters from the previous Tekken titles, look awesome. I've drawn them before, but that was a long time ago. I'm still doing some drawings though. Anyway, this part right here explains the actual Tekken storyline from Tekken 1 to Tekken 6. The player's guide that I have now has so much details about the previous titles, and I'll read them to you, just in case you guys want to learn more about the stories beyond the King of Iron Fist tournament, along with the characters who participate in the tournament. I love to learn more about the storyline ever since Tekken 5. And believe me, they do have some stories beyond what happens during the King of Iron Fist tournament. So here we go. I just thought of something. According to my theory, Tekken was inspired by two different fighting games, Street Fighter and Virtual Fighter. Street Fighter was a fighting game that was phenomenal when it came out in the arcades, especially Super Street Fighter 2. I never played that game in arcades before, but I played Super Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo numerous times, and it was so much fun to play. The gameplay is so much easy to learn, the characters look great, and the stages are amazing and colorful. You know, I might have some basic knowledge when it comes to success of these good looking fighting games, but I can see why people love to play classic fighting games like Super Street Fighter 2, because they grew up with those titles, and so am I. It also includes another fighting game that Tekken was inspired by with a similar gameplay formula, and that game is Virtual Fighter. Virtual Fighter to me is like the first 3D fighting game developed by Sega that introduces plenty of mechanics that teaches you about different moves depending on where you land your attacks, like highs, mids, and lows. That's actually the first game that introduced that concept. The game introduces 3D characters with endless stages and ringouts. So you combine two fighting games together and you've got yourself Tekken. Apparently, Tekken 1 has clunky controls and it doesn't look pretty when you play it, but that's just how the series was introduced in the fighting game genre. It started out small and then it became big. So here's the scenes from Tekken 1 again because I was commentating over it during the sequence. Tekken 1. Heihachi Mishima, master martial artist and ruthless businessman, announced a tournament between world champions. One of the entrants was his son, Kazuya Mishima. Kazuya was after revenge during his tournament, for when he was only 5, Heihachi threw him off a cliff, scarring him. He seethed for years to increase his power. He finally defeated Heihachi at the end of the tournament before throwing Heihachi off the same cliff. With this action, Kazuya became the new head of the Mishima Zaibatsu. So here's the story beyond Tekken 2. The Mishima Zaibatsu grew even more corrupt with the Devil Gene influenced Kazuya at the helm. Heihachi lived and went about plotting revenge. Yes, Heihachi survived the volcano after being thrown by Kazuya Mishima. Kazuya announces the King of Iron Fist tournament too, attempting to draw Heihachi out. He attracts other enemies besides his father. Jin Kazama goes after Kazuya. Heihachi makes it to the final battle against Kazuya and defeats him. Despite Kazuya's possession, he throws the defeated Kazuya into the volcano. I'm not sure if you guys remember this anime film called Tekken the Motion Picture. If you do, then, well, good for you, because you'll understand the story arc beyond Tekken 2. And the anime film clearly sums it up for you. Hardly people knew that this anime film exists, but it's kind of forgettable. You know what I mean? Well, if you don't want to watch the anime, well, you still got the game though for it. So either way, it's fine. Tekken 3. Jin and Heihachi come together a decade and a half later. Jin wants Heihachi to help him train to fight Ogre, a fighting god that attacked Jin and his mother. Heihachi also seeks this fighting god, yearning for its power. Heihachi trains Jin to fight Ogre, then announces the third King of Iron Fist tournament, hoping to draw Ogre out. At the end of the tournament, Jin battles Ogre ferociously, emerging the victor. Heihachi was only using Jin to get at Ogre, and executes his grandson when he sees the task done. But Jin lives, thanks only to Devil. When he and his mother were attacked by Ogre, he survived because Devil marked him. The devil-possessed Jin attacks Heihachi and his men. Then he flies away. Tekken 4. Heihachi seeks the devilish power pulsing in Jin. While he is searching for Jin, he discovers that the G Corporation, his main business rival, has Kazuya's body, and Kazuya was infected with the same dark power as Jin. He finds out that Kazuya has been revived, and announces the fourth King of Iron Fist tournament to draw his son and grandson out into the open. They enter, and Heihachi captures Jin and defeats Kazuya. He takes them both to Hanmaru, where Devil's influences rages in both Jin and Kazuya. Jin attacks and defeats Kazuya and Heihachi, but is able to resist Devil's urgings to kill him. Tekken 5. As the curtain falls on Iron Fist Tournament 4, Jin Kazama carves a vengeful swath through his family, defeating Kazuya and Heihachi in a furious battle at Mishima Zaibatsu headquarters. Suddenly, an army of Jacks bursts through the walls and ambushes the Mishima clan. Jin flees and Kazuya betrays his father by heaving him into the path of the murderous Jacks so he can escape. Seconds later, Hanmaru, Heihachi's personal residence atop the Zaibatsu, is consumed in a titanic explosion with the elder Mishima still inside. A mysterious man in black who has been observing the struggle scans the flaming ruins and intones into his radio. Heihachi Mishima is dead. A month later, the announcement the world was waiting for is made. King of Iron Fist Tournament 5 is set. The battle begins to determine the fate of the entire Mishima Zaibatsu conglomerate and its fallen ruler, Heihachi Mishima.
Mishima Zaibatsu の全世界掌握は時間の問題と思われていた頃、G社が三島財閥の前に立ちはだかる。その頃から俺はこの戦いに疑問を抱くようになっていた。俺たちのこの戦いは本当に正しいのだろうか。俺は志を同じくする者たちと共に鉄拳衆全兵力の半数を引き連れ、三島財閥からの反乱を決意する。そんな中、G社はジンに莫大な懸賞金をかけると発表。G社の発表に呼応するように、三島財閥は大会の開催を宣言した。そして俺たちは新たな戦いの地へと赴く。すべてはあの日から始まった。
Power is everything. This is the law of Tekken. All seek it. All are consumed by it. In the end, all bow to its immutable logic. Each warrior has a unique motivation for entering the 6th King of Iron Fist tournament. Respect, vengeance, honor, righteousness, family. Power alone will lead him to victory. Power alone will bring all foes to their knees. In this world governed by violence, who will reign supreme? The Mishima bloodline continues to flow, a self-destructive torrent of turmoil and darkness. Will the conflict ever be resolved? The next chapter in the epic battle is about to begin. Tekken 6, shrouded in mystery. The King of Iron Fist Tournament 5 came to an end with the defeat of Jinpachi Mishima at the hands of Jin Kazama. Remember Jin's ending in Tekken 5. It's officially canon. Jin took control of the Mishima Zaibatsu and began using the special Tekken Force unit to carry out covert disinformation and paramilitary operations. As a result of its effort, the general public became paranoid and minor incidents around the globe soon evolved into major conflicts. Governments around the world grew increasingly impotent as chaos spread. At the peak of the carnage and confusion, the Mishima Zaibatsu arose from the darkness, flexing the full potential of its military might and declaring its dominion over all government rule. The Mishima Zaibatsu took control of the world with overwhelming force. In response, the G Corporation materialized its opposition to the Zaibatsu, setting out to subdue the Mishima forces globally. Hailed as civilian savior, the G Corporation offered a generous bounty to anyone who captures the Mishima Zaibatsu's leader, Jin Kazama. In an effort to leading the next steps in the deadly dance between organizations, the Mishima Zaibatsu set the stage for battle with its announcements of the King of Iron Fist Tournament 6. Some seek fame, some seek the bounty on Jin's head, some seek solely to banish their own inner demons. Each fighter has a unique agenda. Welcome to the King of Iron Fist Tournament 6. Allow me to introduce you to Scenario Campaign Mode, which is the story mode to Tekken 6. Please remain seated while the cutscenes are in motion.
資料にあったボスコノビッチの娘に似ている。博士の娘はすでに死亡しているはずです。違うな。この娘は一体誰だ。アルファリーダー、どうした。だそうだ、聞こえたか。各自警戒を取った。
The cutscenes in Tekken 6 are unlocked automatically while you're playing scenario campaign mode. So, in case you want to view them again, you can just go to the options menu and select scenario campaign mode cutscenes, and then you can just watch them again. Freeze! Here's a quick gameplay intro in the scenario campaign mode. This mode is very similar to the Tekken Force mode back when it was introduced in Tekken 3. From that game to this game. I'm playing Tekken 6 on the Xbox 360, so I'll explain those controls. The X and Y buttons are the punch buttons. The A and B buttons are the kick buttons. The control stick and the control pad move the characters, but in scenario campaign mode, the control stick moves a character freely and the control pad moves the character like he or she is playing an actual Tekken game. In this section, these jacks are attacking Lars and the Tekken Force in the lab. We have to destroy them as fast as we can. You will not die in this section, so don't worry if you're not good at this game, but wanted to play anyway. Unfreeze! One more thing, please don't leave any comments about me showing some experienced combos with Lars and the rest of the Tekken characters. That's not why this Let's Play was created to do. It's an experience where I wanted to show you how to play the scenario campaign mode in Tekken 6, along with some imagination, which is actually the fun part of the Let's Play. I'll explain to you why I wanted to create 2 Let's Plays of this game later on, but right now, we're heading to the tutorial part after we demolish these jacks. The tutorial map can only be played once, so you have to follow the directions carefully. What I meant by that is that when you clear the tutorial map, you'll never play it ever again, unless you start a new game.
完了しましたが、隊長だけがまだ。そうか。それは隊長の。ああ。ロメオリーダー、了解。撤収するぞ。ですが副長、隊長が。忘れるな。この場合、撤収が優先だ。行くぞ。はっ。
Alright, so now that I've told you the controls of the game, let me show you the gameplay mechanic in Scenario Campaign mode. Remember, this is a similarity with the Tekken Force mode back in the previous Tekken games, especially Tekken 3 because that's the game it was introduced, like I said before. At the bottom of the screen, Alisa explaining the controls to Lars. You can read it if you want to, but just in case you want to be familiar with the controls and the mechanics into the Scenario Campaign mode. Not only does Lars and Alisa have health bars of their own, the enemies have health bars as well, and there are color variations of those health bars depending on the amount of health they have. For example, you see the enemy with yellow health, that means that's the lowest health of all the enemies in the game. When you see the health bar that's green on an enemy, that's the medium health, and when it's blue, that's the highest health the enemy can have in the game. Unfreeze! Before I explain about the target marker, there's also the left bumper where you can take advantage of moving your character, either in classic Tekken style or roaming around freely. However, I hardly use this button and I already have my method of controlling my character the way I want it. Anywho, this red triangle above this enemy right here is the target marker. If there are multiple enemies near you, you automatically target the one that was closest to you. If you want to change targets, press the right bumper button and the target marker will move itself from one enemy to another. It's possible to KO multiple enemies with just one attack. If you're surrounded by a bunch of enemies, you can also throw them, forcing the nearby enemies to knock themselves away, like a knockdown. Lars has plenty of moves in his arsenal, so try them all out if you can. There's always a command list for all the Tekken characters in a game, including Lars and Alisa. Unfreeze! Don't forget, you can block the enemy's attacks. If you're familiar with blocking mechanics like in the ones in Street Fighter games, it's the same mechanic here in Tekken. Also, there are a few attacks that are unblockable, so in order to avoid taking major damage from unblockable attacks, you need to distance yourself out of its range, or you can punish them with a quick combo. There are plenty of things you can manipulate with your character, such as sidestepping, countering, ground bouncing, etc, etc. In fact, this game introduces ground bouncing attacks for completing your combos, plus a new stage transition called a floor break, where you attack your enemy with a ground bounce attack on a fragile floor. The floor breaks, and you enter this new floor with the character that you just ground bounce with, and then you can continue your combo there. Yup, floor breaks were introduced in Tekken 6. The large enemy that Lars just KO'd was the boss of this level. When you defeat a boss, you clear the stage. There's also mini bosses as well. Defeat them and you'll proceed to the next area. There's a difference between mini bosses and actual bosses. And most of them spawn reinforcements, unless they're defeated. Before we end the tutorial, there's only one thing I forgot to mention. Lars came across 3 crates in the tutorial level. What that does is, whenever you see a crate in the level, you need to break them as much as possible. It could be something that you actually need in order to proceed the level much further. It could be a power-up, it could be a piece of treasure for your costumes and such, it could be fight money, it could be a bludgeoning weapon, or it could be something else. Something that's unexpected. Anywho, whenever you see a crate, just break them. And you have to pick up whatever it is that came out of the crates. The treasures that I mentioned are actually treasure chests. You'll collect them by either defeating enemies or breaking crates, and you'll have to clear the stages in order to keep them. Depending on what kind of treasure you get is completely random. You definitely need to search for a costume for a character that affects their statistics, such as health, power, defense, etc. For example, you might get a single pair of pants that increases your health status, or a shirt that increases your attack power. I'll explain more about the costumes when we enter the customization mode. Coming up, here's a piece of Alisa's journal. Whenever you clear a stage, Alisa will create her entry in her database about her journey with Lars and the outside world. She is an android after all. She was trapped in that capsule for a long time, so she has to learn about all this stuff each time. Also, her AI increases the further we clear the stages. The more AI Alisa has, the more helpful she will be.
Encountered a male human, alias Lars Alexandersson. Suffers from temporary amnesia, but hosts formidable combat abilities. Insufficient data regarding his relation to the Mishima Zaibatsu. Further analysis reveals that interchangeable equipment can be accessed through the pause menu in the world map. Subsequent examination of this feature is required.
Ooh, here's an interesting feature. This game is offering you one free Tekken character. This is a one-time only, and you have to choose wisely. If you want to change your free character, for example, you accidentally selected Paul, but you wanted Xiaoyu, then you have to start a new game in order to select that character. Plus, you have to go through the tutorial again, and it only takes you about at least 10 minutes with the cutscenes. Those who played the Tekken games before are very familiar with the characters' fighting styles. If this is your first time playing Tekken 6, well, I would recommend you play the scenario campaign mode first, in order to be familiar with the gameplay mechanics and the controls. It's a fun beat 'em up game where you get to explore a few areas and then attacking and KOing a bunch of enemies and killing crates and stuff. Well, not killing, breaking, of course, because that's fun, right? Yup, it's so much fun. Well, like I said before, if you played Tekken before, then you actually understand the gameplay mechanics and the concept of what Tekken actually is. And that concludes part 1 of Tekken 6. So, in the next episode, we'll begin the scenario campaign. I'll also explain a quick summary of 2 new characters who were introduced in the console version of Tekken 6. Not the arcade version, the console version. These 2 characters are Lars Alexxandersson and Alisa Bosconovitch. Both of them have an interesting storyline, especially when they cooperate with each other. As for the rest of the scenario campaign, I'll explain my likes and my dislikes about it. Yep, There is something in this mode that I really dislike about, and I can't wait to show it to you all. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Here's a screenshot of the text from earlier. Yeah, the reason why I had to do this is because what you just saw, the text was too bright to see the words. So yeah, in case you wanted to read this, you're welcome to. Hey, I've got an idea. Let's play a guessing game. You had to guess before I post the second episode. No spoilers. So, which one of these characters am I going to choose for scenario campaign mode? I won't be able to play that character though. I'm just gonna play Lars throughout the entire thing. Think about it. Which one of these characters am I going to choose? If you watched the second episode of Tekken 6, don't spoil it here in episode 1. It wouldn't be much of a fun game if you try to do that.